Hey everybody, I'm Isaiah and welcome back to my topic channel. So today we have a few updates to go over in the Power Ranger fandom. We actually have some great updates to talk about. Ever since my last video where I talked about is this the actual full end of Power Rangers with Netflix and Hasbro canceling, their plans for the more mature adult, film. We find out that there's two things happening. Number one, we're getting some kind of new film in development with Disney Plus. They are, Disney Plus, of all places. We're getting a new Power Rangers reboot. I think that's what it's basically being stated, as like a more mature look on the traditional show. So I'll throw up the article right here that originally came out, but to many fans, this was a great thing, depending on, hit or miss, Disney has, done the Power Rangers beforehand, with the Disney era of Power Rangers, which many people consider the best Power Rangers era. There are a lot of Disney Power Ranger fans out there, or the Disneyverse of Power Ranger fans. I love a bunch of those seasons too. I love, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD. My favorite season is a Disney season, Mystic Force. And then Jungle Fury and RPM are also great seasons as well. They had one shitter, throughout there. But I guess but again, a lot of fans are pretty happy with this. Some are a little hit or miss. To me, my personal opinion on it, I need to see a lot more updates on this. I need to see some kind of update, just so I know, because again, this is just, it was just announced like a few weeks back, and I wanted to make a video then, but again, just life and everything. So again, like I'm playing catch up in a sense, just to fully get back to making these great videos for you guys. But I'm pretty excited to see what they have to do. Although, like everyone, I'm pretty sure I'm actually getting tired of Mighty Morphin. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Mighty Morphin to death, but like I said, in the last video, Hasbro and a lot of other companies are milking Mighty Morphin, and they've always been, because to them, that's the only season that sells. In my, linear notes, we actually got a new look at the Playmates figures for their Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Retro Rewind. I think that's what they're calling it. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, we've gotten all of this stuff through so many other times. And again, it's marketed towards kids. This is basically a Mighty Morphin toy line for the kids. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like Playmates, again, is my favorite toy company of all time. They made the Ninja Turtles, the Simpsons, a lot of other ones. So that I feel like they're right at home, with Power Rangers. But I'm also at the point where I'm just like, okay, you're also aiming it towards kids who have never seen Mighty Morphin. And you're also knowing that collectors are also going to pick up a couple of these toys because it's Mighty Morphin. And, I mean, I'm not picking so far, I'm not picking anything up, Like, as you guys see, I'm a Power Ranger fan. I'm a collector, as you guys have seen in the past videos. Right behind me, is like a Power Ranger, wall. I have, the 93 figures up there. I have the Lightning Collection Morphers. I have, a lot of the shelf is mostly from Japan anyway, because of Super Sentai, and it's a lot more higher quality than a lot of the stuff that we got in here in the States. The only American stuff on that shelf is actually just these, Happy Meal toys from the 90s, and of course the top shelf with the Lightning Collection and the Cosmic Fury Morpher. But other than that, all the other memorabilia, for the most part, I mean, that's all Japan. Because again, that's how you have to get some of your seasons out. But the Playmates line, I mean, I saw like they so far have stated they're going to release a bunch of new figures. I think they're doing a 5-inch line of all, 6 Rangers. I'm hoping at least 7, because then we get both green and white Rangers for Jason David Frank. The late great Jason David Frank. We're getting a new Power Morpher, and when I saw this, I really thought it was a joke, but it actually is a real thing that they're putting out. And can I just say, wow, that does not look good at all. I don't, and again, we've had a lot of times when they're just making the morphers for Mighty Morphin, they didn't really get it right until the Legacy Morpher came out back in 2013 for the 20th anniversary. Like, the first one, literally, it was upside down. So instead of holding it like this, you had to do like a weird position where you had to hold it like that and press the button and kind of do that with your hand, maybe. Because they put the stickers and everything upside down, so you couldn't actually do it like you were supposed to in the show. We didn't get one for the 2010, remake, not remake, but all the stupid little cheesy effects. We only got a few versions of the original Mighty Morphin Morphers, and this is one of the other ones, We had the movie Morpher, which again was a little bit like, designed of it. I actually still have that somewhere in my collection. I still have the power coins, and I still have the actual Morpher. Because I remember picking that up because I wanted to get something that resembled the old school Mighty Morphin Morpher. And then I have the Lightning Collection one as well, along with the Master Morpher. So there's been multiple versions of it, and I think I went over it in the last one, but if I didn't, I'll say it again. A lot of people shit on the Lightning Collection Morpher because they say that it doesn't look, they wish that it was metal. Why? Why does it have to be metal? And also, it wasn't a bad deal. The Lightning Collection was $50, let alone I think the one that was die-cast metal was like $99.99 or one something when it first came out in 2013, and the Legacy Morpher is kind of like the most well-known in a sense because every time they use it, they want to use a prop, they use the Lightning Collection Morphers because they do look good, but the Lightning Collection Morpher is perfect, and it looks a lot more like the one that was actually on the show back in the 90s, and it actually looks like the toy that I think they were basically going after because they wanted to build that nostalgia. And then people were like, oh, well, why isn't it metal? Why does it need to be metal? Again, it's not a heavy thing. Doesn't feel cheap. Every time I go to a convention, I've taken that Morpher, for the most part that I have that one and the Yellow Ranger one that they put out as well. I've taken them to conventions, I've used them in many photos, and they look good. They do look like great Morphers. And of course, I love the Legacy Morpher. I do love the Legacy Morpher. I love the way it looks, but it had its flaws. Again, die-cast metal, making it a little heavier. It was a little more expensive at the time. The coins don't lock in. They actually, they'll pop out because on the back of the button. So again, there's a lot of fans are not happy with this. And again, I love the Lightning Collection Morphers. And again, the Lightning Collection I thought was a great thing, for the collectors. Although again, I started getting tired when they just started doing exclusively Mighty Morphin stuff. Even when, again, we didn't get a full team we didn't get a lot of the teams, but yet they were always putting out new versions of Mighty Morphin because everyone's got to have their Mighty Morphin. And again, I'm not shitting on Mighty Morphin. I'm not one of those fans that's going to shit on, the mainstay of the franchise, but it's just like when you have so much memorabilia out on Mighty Morphin to begin with, you're kind of oversaturating that season to where many people like me and other people are not going to pick up, the main, anything from this new Playmates line. Again, because it's more aimed at kids, and you're not, even though they're also putting out collector ones as well, they're putting out flip heads, which again were the most iconic Power Ranger toy ever. But realistically, I'm steering away from a lot of it, I think the only thing that I might pick up is maybe the Megazord, because I don't have any kind of Megazord. I don't think the Megazord looks great, because it's missing a lot of paint from the photo I saw. But I was thinking maybe I'd pick it up and maybe paint it, get some paint markers or some actual paint and actually make it look good. The other thing I think I might pick up is the Blade Blaster. Again, they're doing a couple of roleplay items, but they're only doing so far for roleplaying. I think they have a couple of the masks being revealed and unveiled. They also have multiple, they also have the Blade Blaster, like I just said, and the Morpher. And the Blade Blaster doesn't look, terrible. I want to see it in person, or at least in like an actual video when the final version comes out, to see how, big or small it is. It's going to be like something small to where, oh, a collector, it could look good on a shelf, where they won't be or you can use it for a costume or something. I think I might pick that up. That's other than anything else. Yeah, I think I'm going to steer clear for the most part. And another one main thing that kind of confused me, but also I didn't understand the point of it, because again, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is still on Netflix. It is still on there. It's one of the only seasons of Power Rangers that you can actually watch on, available, without ads or anything, unless you don't pay for, whatever whatever Netflix is, high prices are. You can watch Mighty Morphin on there. All 3 seasons are on there. Even the weird one that's, with the stupid cheesy effects. Speaking of that, they're actually remaking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and they're gonna update it and HD it with AI. And when I heard that, I was like, why? Because again, it's a 90s cartoon. It's a 32-year-old show, not a cartoon, but a show. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, what are you going to do? Are you going to like make the effects look cool, or is it going to look cheesy like the 2010 one did? I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, if you're just going to throw AI and everything in there, you might take away from the show and everything. But again, I think they're just trying to appeal to a new audience, and they're trying to use AI and everything. I'll probably give my thoughts when they actually officially, finish, it, and see, what I think, and I'll give my thoughts on it. But I already know they're not going to be good, because again, why would you upscale a show like that wasn't really made for that? It was not shot in HD. It wasn't shot in, that thing. One of the cool things that I loved about the original MMPR and a lot of those, and even Zeo a little bit as well, is how, retro it looks. Because again, it's from 93. It was filmed. It looks a little grainy. It definitely looks better on a CRT than anything. But I really enjoyed the show, and I really enjoyed how it was. So I'm not really, I'm not trying to be the guy that's like, oh, I don't want it and everything. It's just like, I might watch a couple episodes just to see what the actual effects are. But again, it's literally going to be the same show. I started thinking, I'm like, are they going to do something like they did with the Sega CD game? If you guys didn't know, it's literally a button game on an actual episode of the show. Are they just going to be like, and put a bunch of effects and everything that are AI? I don't know, man. Like, it just, like, you're really just gonna really downgrade, the show and everything. I feel like in that way, because the show's great the way it is. But again, you guys want to appeal to a younger audience, so we're gonna see how it takes. And maybe a lot of people will be like, oh, it's good, but then you're already gonna have fans being like, why? You already did that in 15 years ago, with MMPR 2010, only to really make new toys to sell, to kids and everything. But now let's get into something that's, a little bit more on the actorial side of the show. Not the actorial side, but most on the lines of like some dark news that we have gotten, in the Power Ranger community. So if you guys don't know, there was this show on HBO Max. I think it's called The Dark Side of Hollywood, or it's called Hollywood Secrets Exposed. Sorry, I'm not good with the names of the show. But we actually got our first documentary of the year that we were told about. If you guys don't know, a little bit ago, I think around last year or even 2023, we heard that there were documentaries for Power Rangers and Jason David Frank in the works, in partnership with HBO. And we got the first one technically in The Dark Side of Power Rangers. It was one of the episodes, and it was probably one of the highest anticipated episodes, of the show. And so I sat down and watched it, and I was very, very, I knew some of it, but I didn't know the actual gifs of, how dark the show actually ended up becoming, because, I did know that, of course, they weren't paid well. When Mighty MMPR came out, Austin St. John, 2 Week Drang, and Walter Jones, they left the show because they felt they weren't getting paid, enough to actually do what they've, had to do. They were very long work weeks. and they didn't get paid much. I think they only made like $500 a week or something, which isn't, which isn't far, fair, especially if they had to do their own stunts and everything. It was a non-union show. But watching this episode, you went into a lot of deep stuff, and you just saw how terrible the show was production-wise, One of the main things is, if you guys don't know, 2 Week Trang was actually not supposed to be the original Yellow Ranger. It was actually another actress by the name of, throw it up, I'm sorry, I don't know the name off the top of my head. I apologize to her. But she filmed the first pilot. She was actually a little older than a lot of the other actors. I think she was 26, 27 when she first started with the show. And Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger, was 17 when he came on. And she was an actual martial artist, a black belt. And again, if you're a Power Ranger fan, you have seen the original pilot and how different it is from the show we actually ended up getting. And what happened was the show got picked up, and they basically kind of gave the actors an ultimatum that they had to come back at 7 o'clock the next day. And if they weren't there, if they were a minute late, they were fired, which is just absolutely fucking insane, And she said that it was at the time where, like, there was no agent going to call you to make sure it was okay, or like everything's still going. You kind of had to take the chance. And they all did, and the show got picked up. And they basically had to sign contracts, basically NDAs, in the sense of, like, they will do this for a short amount of pay, and there would be no, renegotiating or anything. So the original actress kind of went in, and again, we knew that she asked for more money, and that's why she left. And when I looked up, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of, understandable why she left. I'm not trying to push down anything, but it was just like, knowing a bunch of executives, they're probably not going to give you more than they wanted, but this money could have actually been good that she asked for, because she had to move literally from where she was living to California, and she would have needed the money to actually make the move and survive. And they fired her. And, that's really fucked up, because Hayam Saban, you created this amazing company, you created a great franchise, but you're an inconsiderate douchebag of a person. You're literally one of the biggest pieces of shit in, media history. But we got 2 Weeks Trang, and she did a great job as Trini. And again, the show got picked up, and it became an instant hit. The best-selling toy line of the 90s is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's probably the most iconic franchise of the 90s. In a sense. So, and these guys were getting jack shit. Like, they didn't get paid well. None of the 5 original actors did. But then also the popularity also came back with, Green with Evil, parts 1 through 5, when we got the original Green Ranger. Jason David Frank, he came in and he became the most popular. Toy lines were going, I think in 1994, they made $1 billion. And they were still paying all of these actors not a good pay. And the next thing you know is the contracts end. They basically say that again, the contracts end, and they want to renegotiate. And the thing is, if you guys have seen the flip heads in the toys or anything, they're using their likenesses on on everything, and they didn't get paid for using their likeness on the toys, which is, again, a little weird, because I don't know if, like, Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. or, Tom Holland get paid for their likeness in an action figure. I don't know. I personally feel like that at some point there has to be, but again, different stuff, I guess. But a profit of the merchandising, especially if they're using your likeness, that should have been something that they should have did, but they didn't. And they said, oh, well, you're easily replaceable. And in the second half of season 2, we got introduced to Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, who took over for Jason, Zach, and Trini. Again, this is just really, really fucked up to hear the way that these people were treated. And it was like that for a long time. And Nakia Burla, I think that's how you say pronounced. I apologize, Miss Nakia, if I unfortunately buffered your last name. she was even talking about when she was called to recast, she didn't know she was recasting someone. She thought she was just coming in to do the show, and she did Zeo and Turbo, and there was a call where she actually found out that there was a casting call to replace her team of Rangers. That was in the Turbo episode where, Tommy, Kat, and Adam, and Nakia's character Tanya, they got replaced with TJ, Ashley, Cassie, and Carlos. And they didn't know that it was a recast for Power Rangers. It was a really weird thing. And I was watching the show, and I was just very, very, upset with this, because I was just like, I didn't know how much, pain and suffering and a lot of like fucked up shit went on behind the scenes of Power Rangers, And these people, like a lot of these actors had to go through, like if they got hurt, they still had to, come to work and still do their stuff because they were on a tight budget. They talked about heat stroke, and I can't really go into a lot of the stuff that I do want to say, or could go into, because I don't want this video getting taken down or anything, of that matter, because there was a lot of unfortunately darkened stuff, in there. I just want to say real quick, basically, because I really want to go into it, is I want to say a big, rest in peace, obviously, and I hope, they're all, in peace somewhere, Jason and Eric Frank. I hope Pua, the original, the Ninja Storm Red Ranger, is also finally, at peace. His story was very, sad as well. A big rest in peace to Tui Trang as well. These guys made these characters that we all love, and I just want to let you guys know, it was like, please don't ever be scared to get help for any kind of mental health related stuff. Please don't ever feel like you can't get help or are scared to get help, because it's always available, and your lives are really important, still here. You don't, that's, a lot of us think to, we can take the easy way out, but life's, supposed to be a great thing, and if something's, if someone's able to help you, if you feel ever the need to get help, please do, because it is a very important, thing, and, I personally, wish I knew all of you, but, I'd like everyone to stick around for a little bit longer. But yeah, so a lot of the stuff was just like, very, it was very tragic, again, watching and, hearing these stories. And, I was, tearing up throughout it, and, especially with the stuff with Jason and Eric, which I'm going to stop and not go into. Because, again, it's not really my place to do. I don't want to, like, exploit any of this. It was just really, really sad and, and hearing everything. There was also, they also talked about Ricardo, who is the Wild Force Red Ranger, and we got to learn a lot more about his, tragedy, and in hindsight, unfortunately, he took someone's life. If you guys are a Power Ranger fan and haven't, seen it, I highly recommend doing it. But again, it is pretty, it's unfortunately sad to watch, and I think we all knew it. But that story was also a lot like, holy shit. And, you got to hear a lot of other stories, like another one was, with Jason Font, the original Red Ranger, who's an amazing person, great guy. He actually talked about how his show was the first one to get unionized. And he ended up talking about how, for the one scene of just going up the stairs, they bought a body double in because if it was unionized, you were on there for less hours, pay was better, you could not get, they didn't want you guys to get hurt. And that was the full, documentary was, it was a really good doc, but it was also just, very sad and, tragic to, talk to, hear all of these stories about. But it looks like, and there's another one coming out soon. Hopefully Legend of the White Dragon, Jason David Frank's final project, is set to release soon, I think. And I'm really excited to see that and see his final project. I think that's the best thing to, kind of leave off this video with. Like, there's still a lot of Power Ranger news out there. We got the Disney Plus show, which, I think everyone is kind of, not eager, but intrigued to see, I should say. I'll keep you guys definitely updated if we have more on all of it, you know, if we have more updates on the Disney Plus show, the Playmates line, anything else like that. But anyway, guys, I think I'm going to end it up. You know, I think this is the best place to end it, as, you know, Power Rangers could be back. You know, Power Rangers, it seems like there's going to be a couple of things in Resurgence to see what's going on. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I hope you guys would stick around, you know, and please consider subscribing if you haven't, because in my opinion, you always need topics in your life. I'm going to try to get better at uploading, because I really love making these videos, and I really love giving my take on these. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. And until I see you guys again, peace to the O, to the U, to the T. Peace out, guys.